Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here today with some duels for you, using the Dismounter in the main hand and the Shamshir in the offhand. I'm going to be using the armor set I usually wear, same with the talismans, pretty standard here. Level 125 meta build, lightning infused weapons. I really like this combo because you have the R1, the crouch R1, the R2, and the Shamshir offhand, all with different speeds to help roll catch opponents, mix them up. I'm using Swords Dance and the Shamshir. It's a nice quick little weapon, good for running people down with the running R1, mixing things up with a Swords Dance. And then on the Dismounter I'm using Stormblade, just so we have a ranged option to try to punish people that are using ranged attacks, mages and such. Anyway, it's a setup I've started to really enjoy, and I wanted to share it with you. So I hope you enjoy the duels ahead. So in this first battle, we're fighting someone that's using St. Trina's swords. He probably plans to put us to sleep and combo some type of spell by the look of it. But thankfully for the mix-ups of this weapon, we get a nice roll catch with the crouch R1 here, second follow-up R1. We kind of just trick him by mixing him up to death. It's very cool vortex potential on this weapon. In this second duel, we're fighting a guy with a halberd, and what I should have done in this battle is two-hand the Dismounter the whole fight, because you get hyper armor that way, and I can just out-trade him, I'm pretty sure. But I make the mistake of one-handing it here, because I want to utilize the Shamshir moveset. I'll land a quick roll catch there, followed by a second roll catch with the Dismounter. Stormblade doesn't work out, he out-hyper armors me there a second time, and then roll catches me with his crouching R1. So you can see how the hyper armor is working in his favor here, since he was two-handing the halberd. Anyway, I start to rethink things now, and I two-hand the Shamshir instead, so I can do this quick hit-and-run play style. I go for running attack, get out-traded. Luckily, Swords Dance has hyper armor against halberds. I finish him off with a running R1 roll catch. It's a pretty solid fight. In this duel, we're facing someone using the Infernal Prelate's Crozier. It's a very big, slow weapon. It's very hard to use, so respect to this guy for using it. You see that the end lag of all of his swings are so long, I get to just land hits, basically. I don't space well enough there, so he gets to roll away, but I then make the mistake of jumping in, eating a hit. So even though this is a hard weapon to use, he's kind of outplaying me, honestly, just with consecutive hyper armor R1s. Get some good damage in there with the Shamshir, go for a Stormblade to try to bait him in close. But he's keeping his distance. He wants me to run in so he could Storm Stomp me. But I outspace the Storm Stomp, I'm not going to fall for it. Again, the hyper armor there coming in and winning him a trade again. I switch my talisman to get a little bit of regen going. Switch to a red feathered branch sword in case I fall low. And I see that he's now switched to endure, so it's a little bit scary. So I keep my distance. I go for Stormblade, but I'm too close, so I get punished big time. So really letting this guy kind of hit me with these big bonks. And I see he switches to a Partisan because he wants to finish me off. So now we're having just a quick weapon v quick weapon. He lands a hit that I thought I outspaced. Should have rolled it. And now I jump in here, pressure him into rolling, and finish him off with a roll catch. It's a pretty good fight. This next opponent is also using a curved greatsword, so it's kind of a mirror match here. Mirror matches with hyper armor weapons tend to get a little goofy, because you can kind of just two-hand it and spam R1 into each other. See, I go for a swing, so does he. I just swing out a hit stun there. He blocks, which ruins his stamina, and I kind of just keep swinging to end the duel there. Nice and quick. This guy's using two lances. It's a very good setup if you get too close, because you make yourself vulnerable to getting vortexed. I make that mistake immediately, and kind of just abuse my hyper armor to swing out of it. Catch him with a crouch R1 roll catch, and regain some space here. So now that we're back in neutral, I talisman swap really quickly to get some regen off. And I kind of don't want to make the same mistake again. So I go for a more difficult to punish Shamshir R1 into a Swords Dance. Hyper Armor through his attack, and he out-hyper armors me with the Storm Assault there. So now I'm really scared of the Storm Assault. I quickly swap to some regen and bait him in before I go for some wild R1 swings to finish off the duel there. Here we have an opponent using two coated swords. So dual straight swords is really strong, and the coated swords are especially strong because they Ignore armor, because they're pure holy. It's a little harder to build defenses against them because my boiled crab doesn't do anything. And we kind of just go for some close quarter swinging there, and I end up out-trading and outspacing him. Here we have a nice guy using 2 Nagakibas. I love the katanas. If you watch me, you know I do, so... I always love facing people using other katanas. And I know their weaknesses pretty well, so I know that I can just hyper armor through the katanas with my Dismounter here, and I know I can outspeed them with the Shamshir. So I just swing as he goes for a jump. I know I'm going to out hyper armor him. Same thing with that crouch attack there. And he goes for an unsheath that luckily misses because my R1 goes over his head. That could have been a grave mistake for me. But yeah, then I finish him off with a quick Shamshir hit. I hadn't used it yet, so he didn't expect it. Here we have an opponent who immediately runs behind the pillar to get those glint blades glowing. Also using 2 katanas, but he's using Spinning Slash. So I start swinging to out hyper armor him, and now I have to respect his space because I don't want to get Spinning Slash to death. He gets another glint blade phalanx off, and he tries to make space towards me as I panic roll a little bit. I swap to a regen talisman. And he's doing the trick where he backsteps toward me, so those don't launch prematurely. Doesn't really pay off. I know the trick. It's pretty foolish. He launches a Chilling Strike. He almost catches me with that one, but the hyper armor of the Katana Chilling Strike does not beat the stagger that this Curved Greatsword deals. And he makes the mistake of thinking he can try to outtrade me when I have a hyper armor weapon. You can never do that with a katana. It never works. We both activate our boiled crabs here and we get the fight going. We're both using curved greatswords. He kind of walks into my Stormblade. I expect him to go for a parry since he has a shield, so I just jump attack him. And pretty quickly take the lead here. I have a big health advantage, so I could just go for trades. So I just throw out a running attack, and as he does the same and loses that battle. I start this one off with a quick ravioli step R1, and then try to catch him with some roll catches, but he spaces well. Stormblade misses, I back off, do a backstep R1, and now I think I'm just going to try to finish him with a Shamshir here. It's probably the safest way to get that little bit of health down, and it works out. So we have another opponent with a shield here. I run in and elect to, instead of getting my own boiled crab up, I just go for the damage after we emote. He takes out his own Shamshir, so do I. And we kind of go for a Shamshir off here. I have the health advantage. I go for a Swords Dance that misses and get punished for it immediately. But he makes the mistake of trying to trade when he's at 1 health. So that does not work. And then we get yet another rematch against this guy. He almost gets a parry off on me that time. But luckily he mistimed it. I go for a jump just in case he does it again. And you see, now I'm more wary, so I'm trying to mix up my movement, try to feint him out. But he catches on, just misses the timing again barely. But his parries have been successful at making me scared, if anything. In the end, I win the duel. This time we have an opponent with a scythe using Phantom Slash, and he opens with it from neutral. I whiff my running R1, so I actually get punished by the Phantom Slash from neutral. A little bit embarrassing, but it happens when unexpected shit happens. I just swing here as I see him approaching me, crouching, trying to go for a crouch R1. I have the hyper armor advantage, so there's no reason with a curved greatsword not to just swing, unless he's spacing excellently. I punish it this time with Stormblade. Very easy punish there. As he decides to space out, and I think he's rethinking just throwing out Phantom Slash. I kind of just space around him here, prepare to roll catch with a rolling R1. I go for a running R2, trying to mix up the timing, but he's not falling for it. He catches me with a good running R1 here and just continues to swing. And here he makes the mistake of not expecting my Shamshir to come out. So that speed advantage just wins out there. Here we have a big boy using the Guts Greatsword. Like to see it. He's really going to out Hyper Armor here, so the Dismounter Hyper Armor doesn't really pose an advantage anymore. He gets a good roll catch on me as I panic roll from his feint. And now I go to cleanse this Frostbite before he procs it. And he makes the mistake of giving me a ton of space there, so I get to proc it without getting punished at all. And then I catch him with a quick Swords Dance roll catch. It's big damage. So against this opponent, I realize I'm facing a Colossal Greatsword. There's no need for the Iron Goat Talisman. I swap that off for some extra damage and get to it. I land the first hit. He has some good dodges in my second hits, and I decide to switch into Shamshir to just have the speed advantage. I roll prematurely there, get caught by a roll catch, don't make the mistake a second time, but then make a different mistake of walking into some consecutive R1 swings. So now I'm in a very dangerous position because he can just Hyper Armor trade me and win. Luckily I land another hit and kind of even the odds here. I decide to go for a quick weapon swap and try to trick him. It doesn't work. So I'm in a bit of a dire straits here. He ends up missing his roll catch and gives me a chance to catch up. I have to just kind of wait for a whiff punish at this point, or a safe running attack, otherwise I can just lose. Luckily, I get the roll catch and end up winning. Here I end up fighting a guy that I fought several times before. He's a good opponent. I could see he's doing, trying something out with a poison dagger, so I don't want to really walk into it. He's playing pretty passively, waiting for me to walk into those charge swings. See, he gets me with it there, kind of confirms my suspicions, so now I have to rethink about how to approach this here. He tries to punish my bolus there with an R2. Not the most ideal way to punish it, but like I said, this guy's trying to do, I think, a self-imposed challenge to R2 only. So I play extra carefully, just because I really don't want to lose to something like this. And you can see he's very focused on spacing and trying to punish with that R2. Which is surprisingly effective. I've never really fought a dagger like this before. I think this is the first time I've ever fought it, so it was a new experience. But I'm starting to learn the spacing of it. You can see as the match goes on, it just kind of becomes a little easier to fight it. I decided to take out Endure, just to scare him a little bit. Don't really continue to go for it because I know he's just going to back off. It's a little bit of a slow match because he's basically just not being the aggressor. He's just waiting for me to do something so he could space and punish. Which, to his credit, he's doing an excellent job at it. It's hard to do that with a dagger. But just a little bit annoying for me because I have to constantly be the aggressor. There's no really back and forth here. I decided to just launch the fan daggers to pressure and scare him, because otherwise I know he's just going to run away and regen up. I swap to the Stitcher there to go for the running R2. It does not work, and then I see he switched talismans, so I just switch the fists and go in for a quick running attack. GG, dude. This next opponent is using a Shamshir as well, but he has the regen shield on, so he has a little bit of a long-term health advantage, but he kind of fucks up right away and lets me land a Swords Dance. A lot of just back and forth R1s here. I have a massive health advantage, so I can just go in, eat hits, and just spam. And pray that a roll catch or a trade kills him. And that's exactly what happens. So this opponent is once again the guy with the other curved greatsword. So I decide this time, I think, to use the Shamshir a little more, rather than my own curved greatsword. Yep, there's the Shamshir roll catches. You can see that if you stay in that foolishly, you can just take up to 1,000 damage really quick. Before you even really realize your bad input. He catches me with a nice delayed R2 there. So I decided to do the same out of nowhere, and it, it gets me nowhere. Here I go for another hard swap into the Stitcher, and I land 2 hits, but he gets a trade on the second hit, so it's not really as worth it. I kind of bait him in with this regen now. Like, he doesn't want this to happen, so it kind of forces him to be the aggressor, and he's kind of just giving me space and letting it happen. So then I see he switches to his own regen gear, so I go in, be the aggressor myself, and end it cleanly and quickly. So we have another rematch with this opponent, with the glintstone phalanx and the katanas. I kind of expect her to try to get these phalanx swords to land on me and stun me into a spinning slash, so that's what I'm expecting. So I have my hyper armor out ready to trade. I think here I go for an attack, and she actually lands that, so I decide, you know what, change of strategy, I'm going to aggress. And I see that she keeps trying to start up the spinning slash and fails, because I could just out R1 spam that. And then mid-combo, she takes out a parry shield and tries to parry. Risky maneuver, but it ends up paying off for me. Anyway, on to the next one here. We have a really cool opponent that's using a single partisan. Very cool. Unfortunately for me, I swapped talismans and didn't realize that I was heavy rolling, so I have to quickly change talismans before I get punished too hard. Luckily, my opponent is just whiffing everything, so doesn't get to punish the heavy rolling, and I got off kind of scot-free from that mistake. Back into the action, I get some alternating Dismounter and Shamshir hits going to throw off his timing. He tries to get a Flaming Strike off, but I just keep swinging, so it's a little dangerous for him to do that unless I have a reason to be panic rolling. There's not really a reason, though, when I have the health advantage. I catch him with that last health Stormblade for the kill. GG. Here we have our friend with the coated swords again. I activate a crab that does nothing, and he's nice enough to just stand there and let me. I end up punishing him for it, so I feel a little bit bad about that, but here I decide to try to out-trade Coated Sword L1s with my offhand Shamshir. It does not work out, but he fails his kill move there and ends up missing it, so sucks for him. Here we have our buddy with the katanas again, and for the closing duel of this section here, I decide to give him an even match. I was just itching to use my katanas, honestly, and I really wanted to show him how it's done. So we kind of get at it here. He throws daggers at me, and I'm looking for my opening. I go for just a neutral jumping L1. It does